In the peaceful village of Mto Wambu, Gwiza and Coffee's love blossomed in a way neither had anticipated. Their bond, though initially sparked by physical attraction, had deepened into something far more profound. Days turned into weeks, and the once insatiable curiosity that had plagued Gwiza about Coffee's physical attributes faded away. She had come to realize that their connection was rooted in something richer: respect, friendship, and shared dreams. The village, which had initially buzzed with gossip about Gwiza's past relationships and her sudden involvement with a man from the Sukuma tribe, now viewed their union with admiration. The rumors had died down, replaced by admiration for how the two had bridged the cultural divide between their communities. Coffee, with his warm smile and quiet strength, became a respected figure in Mto Wambu, and Gwiza's transformation into a woman of wisdom and grace was evident to all. One evening, as they sat beneath the stars, the sounds of the distant savannah filling the air, Coffee turned to Gwiza and asked, "Do you ever regret the choices we made?" Gwiza smiled softly, her eyes reflecting the flickering light of the fire. "No," she said, "because through everything, I've learned that love is more than what I once thought. It's about growth, patience, and understanding. And with you, I've found all of that." As their love deepened, Gwiza and Coffee began to talk about their future together. They spoke of marriage and the possibility of starting a family. Both were excited, but also aware of the challenges that lay ahead. Their families, though supportive, came from two very different backgrounds. Gwiza's family, steeped in the traditions of the Chaga people, were initially wary of the idea of her marrying outside of her tribe. Likewise, Coffee's family had their reservations, unsure if Gwiza would adapt to their way of life. Despite these concerns, the couple was determined to make things work. They began to spend more time with each other's families, learning about their customs and traditions. Gwiza learned the Sukuma language and embraced the ways of Coffee's people, while Coffee made efforts to understand and honor Gwiza's Chaga roots. Slowly but surely, their families warmed to the idea of their union, and the barriers that once seemed insurmountable began to crumble. The day of their wedding approached, and Mto Wambu was abuzz with excitement. The ceremony would be a grand affair, blending the traditions of both the Chaga and Sukuma tribes. Elders from both sides had gathered, and the air was thick with the scent of freshly cooked food, vibrant fabrics, and the sound of drums. On the morning of the wedding, Gwiza stood in her family's home, gazing at herself in the mirror. She was dressed in a stunning kaitanj, the rich colors and intricate patterns representing both her heritage and the new life she was about to begin. Her heart raced with excitement, but also with a sense of peace. She knew that this was the right path for her, a path of unity and love. As she walked toward the wedding canopy, surrounded by her family and friends, she saw Coffee standing at the altar, his tall frame draped in the traditional robes of his people. His smile was warm, and his eyes held the same gentle understanding that had drawn her to him in the first place. The ceremony was a beautiful fusion of cultures, with elders from both the Chaga and Sukuma tribes blessing their union. There were moments of laughter, songs, and tears of joy as the couple exchanged vows, promising to love and support one another for the rest of their lives. As the sun set over the village, the celebration continued long into the night. People from all corners of Mto Wambu, and even from the neighboring villages, danced and sang in honor of Gwiza and Coffee's union. It was a night of joy, not just for the couple, but for the entire community. Their love had brought together two tribes that had once kept to themselves, fostering a new sense of unity and understanding. In the months following their wedding, Gwiza and Coffee worked together to strengthen the bond between their communities. They hosted gatherings and cultural exchange programs, where people from both tribes could share their traditions and learn from one another. What began as a personal journey for the couple had now become a movement for peace and cooperation across the region. Years passed, and Gwiza and Coffee were blessed with children. Their home was filled with the laughter of their little ones, who grew up embracing both their Chaga and Sukuma heritage. They learned to speak both languages, dance to both rhythms, and carry on the traditions of both their parents. Gwiza often reflected on how far she had come from the days when she chased after physical desires. Now, she understood that true fulfillment came from the heart. As their family grew, so did their influence in the community. Gwiza and Kofi became respected leaders, not because of their wealth or status, but because of the love and unity they had fostered between their people. They were often asked to speak at village gatherings where they shared the story of their journey, a story of love, respect, and the power of overcoming differences. Their love story became legendary in the region, passed down from generation to generation. It was told not just as a tale of romance, but as a symbol of hope and unity. Through their love, Gwiza and Kofi had shown that even the deepest divides, cultural, tribal, or personal, could be bridged by understanding, respect, and a willingness to embrace one another's differences. And so, under the vast Tanzanian sky, with the Serengeti winds carrying whispers of their story, Gwiza and Kofi lived a life of love, laughter, and legacy, forever bound by the lessons they had learned and the love they had nurtured. As the years passed, Gwiza and Kofi's family flourished, and their influence in the village of Mto Wambu grew. They had become symbols of harmony, and their love story was no longer just their own, but a beacon of unity for all who knew them. Their children, 4 in total, embodied the seamless blend of Chaga and Sukuma cultures, growing up with the wisdom and strength of both traditions. The eldest, Kajura, was a reflection of her mother's beauty and grace, but with the calm demeanor of her father. She had a deep love for storytelling, often gathering the children of the village around the fire at dusk to recount the tales of her ancestors. Gwiza and Kofi watched with pride as Kajura grew into a leader in her own right, guiding the young ones with a wisdom beyond her years. Their second child, Juma, took after Kofi in many ways. Tall and strong, he spent his days helping in the family fields, learning the ways of the land from his father. Juma was curious about the world beyond Mto Wambu, and as he grew older, he became known as an adventurer, always eager to learn from the Maasai, the Hadzabe, and other nearby tribes. His love for exploring earned him the nickname Mfam wa Safari, King of Journeys, and he brought back tales of far-off places, uniting the village further with the stories of those who lived beyond their borders. The twins, Bahati and Zawina, were the heart of the family. They had inherited Gwiza's sharp wit and Kofi's charm, often making the entire village laugh with their playful antics. But more than that, they had a gift for diplomacy. Whenever conflicts arose between neighbors, or even within the family, the twins had a way of easing tensions and helping people see eye to eye. The elders would often say, Wazatsi wa mani wa miza, wa toto wa mani. Parents of peace have given birth to children of peace. The love that Gwiza and Kofi shared continued to serve as a foundation for their family and the village at large. Every year, they hosted a grand Tamasha La Umoja, Festival of Unity, in Mto Wambu, bringing together people from across the region. The festival was a celebration of not only their love, but the unity between the Chaga, Sukuma, and other neighboring tribes. There was music, food, dance, and most importantly, an exchange of ideas and cultures. As the years passed, however, change came to Mto Wambu, as it always does. The village began to grow, and with that growth came new challenges. Outside influences started to seep into the region. Traders from the coast brought with them not only goods, but also new ways of thinking. The younger generation, while still respecting tradition, became more curious about the world beyond their village. One day, Juma, now a young man, approached his parents with a bold request. Mama Baba, he began, I want to leave the village. There is so much out there to learn, and I feel a calling to explore more of our country and even beyond Tanzania. I want to take the spirit of our family and the lessons you've taught me to other places. Gwiza's heart tightened, for though she had always known her son had an adventurous spirit, the idea of him leaving the safety of Wambu filled her with concern. But Kofi, ever wise, placed a hand on Juma's shoulder and said, My son, if your heart is calling you to explore, then go. But remember, no matter how far you travel, You will always carry the spirit of our home with you. What you have learned here, love, unity, and respect, will serve you wherever you go. With his parents' blessing, Juma set off on his journey, traveling through East Africa, across the Serengeti, and down to the Swahili coast. Everywhere he went, he spread the message of unity and peace, sharing the story of his parents' love and the harmony it had created in their village. Back in MTO Wambu, life continued. Gwiza and Kofi grew older, but their love remained as strong as ever. Kajura took on more responsibilities, becoming a central figure in the village, while Bahati and Zawina began to organize peace talks between neighboring villages whenever tensions arose over land or resources. One fateful evening, years after Juma had left, the village was visited by a group of travelers. Among them was a young man, tall and strong, with eyes that sparkled with curiosity. As he approached Gwiza and Kofi's home, there was a familiarity in his stride. It was Juma, returning after years of travel. Gwiza rushed to embrace her son, tears of joy streaming down her face. Kofi stood by, his eyes filled with pride as he watched the man his son had become. Juma had traveled far and wide, learning new languages, customs, and traditions. But no matter where he went, he carried with him the lessons of his upbringing. "I have come home," Juma said, smiling, "but I am not the same person who left. I have seen the world, and it has taught me that what we have here in MTO Wambu is something special. The unity you built, Mama and Baba, is what the world needs." With his return, Juma brought new ideas to the village, helping to expand the Tamasha La Umoja into a regional event that attracted people from across East Africa. The festival grew, becoming a symbol of peace and cultural exchange, just as Gwiza and Kofi had once hoped. In their twilight years, Gwiza and Kofi sat on the porch of their home, watching their children and grandchildren run through the fields. Their love story, once a tale of curiosity and desire, had grown into something much larger, a legacy of unity, peace, and the power of love to bring people together. And as the sun set over the Tanzanian horizon, they knew that the seeds they had planted together would continue to bloom for generations to come. As the years rolled on, Gwiza and Kofi's legacy continued to shape not only MTO Wambu, but the entire region. The Tamasha La Umoja Festival of Unity had grown from a village affair to one of the most renowned events in East Africa, drawing in people from Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and even as far as Ethiopia. The festival had become a melting pot of cultures, where Maasai dancers performed alongside Baganda drummers, and Swahili poets shared the stage with storytellers from the Zulu nation. Gwiza and Kofi, now elders, watched from the sidelines as their children, Kajura, Juma, Bahati, and Zawina, took the reins of the festival. Kajura had become the village's respected elder, carrying her mother's wisdom and her father's calm demeanor. Her voice was now the one that villagers sought whenever disputes arose, her words calming tensions like the gentle evening breeze over Lake Miniera. Juma, having returned from his travels, became the festival's ambassador, his reputation as Mfam wa Safari, king of journeys, drawing in international visitors. He shared stories of distant lands and had forged friendships with traders and diplomats across the continent. Through these connections, he brought new opportunities to MTO Wambu, helping local artisans export their crafts and organizing cultural exchange programs for the youth. His return had not only expanded the festival, but had also opened doors for the villagers to see the world beyond their borders. Bahati and Zawina, ever the diplomats, worked tirelessly to maintain peace between neighboring villages. There were still tensions from time to time, arguments over grazing lands or fishing rights. But the twins were always there to mediate, reminding everyone that unity was stronger than division. They had become a dynamic duo, known for their quick wit and sharp minds, and their efforts had earned them respect far beyond their village. They were often invited to speak at regional gatherings, sharing their experiences and strategies for peace building. As the Tamasha La Umoja approached its 25th anniversary, the entire village buzzed with excitement. This year it would be bigger than ever. Kajura had arranged for a delegation from Zanzibar to bring their Tarab musicians, while Juma had invited a group of Ethiopian coffee traders to set up booths. Bahati and Zawina, ever focused on fostering peace, had organized a youth leadership program to teach the next generation the importance of unity and respect for all cultures. The night before the festival, as the stars sparkled brightly in the sky, Gwiza and Coffee sat outside their home, watching the preparations. They had lived a full life, one that began with youthful curiosity and desire, but had blossomed into something much deeper, a life of purpose, love, and service to their community. "Do you remember," Coffee began, a twinkle in his eye, "when we first met at the market all those years ago?" Gwiza smiled, her heart warming at the memory. "How could I forget? I was drawn to you for all the wrong reasons, but look how far we've come." Coffee chuckled softly. "We've built something beautiful, haven't we?" "Yes," Gwiza agreed, her voice full of affection. "We have, but it's not just us. It's the children, the village, everyone who believed in our vision of unity." For a moment, they sat in comfortable silence, listening to the sounds of the village, the laughter of children, the rustling of palm trees, and the distant hum of preparations for the festival. It was a perfect evening, one that reminded them of how much they had accomplished. The next day, as the sun rose over the hills of Mto Wambu, the festival began. The village came alive with music, colors, and the aromas of foods from across the region. Gwiza and Coffee were greeted by everyone as they made their way to the central pavilion, their presence still commanding respect despite their age. They took their seats in the front row, honored as the founders of the Tamasha La Umoja. Throughout the day, they watched with pride as their children and grandchildren carried forward their vision. Kajura gave an opening speech, welcoming the guests in both Swahili and English, her words weaving together the importance of unity and diversity. Juma led a parade of dancers and musicians, showcasing the rich tapestry of East African cultures. Bahati and Zawina hosted a panel on conflict resolution, sharing their insights with village elders from as far away as Rwanda and Burundi. As the sun began to set, the final event of the day was a dance, a traditional fusion of Chaga and Sukuma steps, choreographed by none other than Kajura and her siblings. Villagers from all walks of life, from different tribes and backgrounds, joined hands and danced together, their movements synchronized, their hearts united. It was a celebration of everything Gwiza and Coffee had stood for: love, unity, and respect for one another. As they watched, tears of joy welled up in Gwiza's eyes. "Look at them, Coffee. This is what we dreamed of, a village, a people united in love and peace." Coffee smiled softly, reaching for her hand. "We've done well, Gwiza. We've done well." And as the music played, and the people of Mto Wambu danced beneath the stars, Gwiza and Coffee knew that their legacy would live on, not just in their children, but in every soul that had been touched by their love and vision for a better, more united world. As the night of celebration continued, the stars above Mto Wambu shimmered brighter than ever, reflecting the unity and joy radiating from the village below. The Tamasha La Umoja had become more than just an annual event. It was now a symbol of hope for all who attended, a reminder of the power of community, love, and mutual respect. After the grand dance, villagers and guests gathered around large bonfires scattered across the open fields. The warmth of the flames mirrored the warmth shared by those who sat together, exchanging stories, laughter, and song. Children darted between the fires, their laughter filling the air as they played in the glow of the night, while elders shared tales of days gone by with younger generations, passing down wisdom like precious heirlooms. Kajura, Juma, Bahati, and Zawina had all found their places among the people. Kajura sat with a group of elders, discussing plans to expand the Tamasha into an international cultural summit. Juma was deep in conversation with visiting traders, speaking passionately about the potential for further trade and tourism opportunities. Bahati and Zawina were at the center of a lively debate, teaching young leaders the art of diplomacy and the importance of balancing tradition with modernity. Meanwhile, Gwiza and Coffee found a quiet spot under a baobab tree, away from the bustle of the celebration. It was their favorite place to retreat to when they needed a moment of peace. They sat together, gazing out at the scene before them, the flames dancing in the night, the people they had brought together, and the love that had blossomed in their village over the years. "I never imagined it would become this," Gwiza said softly, her voice thick with emotion. "All those years ago, I was chasing something I thought I needed. But what we built, it's far greater than anything I ever dreamed." Coffee nodded, his eyes reflecting the flickering firelight. "I always believed we could create something meaningful, but I didn't realize just how much it would grow. Our children have taken it further than we ever could have on our own." "They have," Gwiza agreed, pride swelling in her chest. "But it all started with us. With the choice we made to look beyond ourselves, to see the potential in each other and in our people." Coffee smiled. "You were always the visionary, Gwiza. You saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself back then." Gwiza chuckled, nudging him playfully. "And you grounded me, kept me from running off after every whim. We balanced each other perfectly." They fell into a comfortable silence, letting the moment speak for itself. Their journey, from youthful curiosity to deep, enduring love, had shaped not just their lives but the lives of everyone around them. It had proven that love, when nurtured with patience and understanding, could grow into something far more powerful than either had imagined. As the night deepened, the drums in the distance began to slow, signaling the final hours of the celebration. The fires burned lower, and the people began to drift off to their homes, tired but filled with the joy and camaraderie that the Tamasha La Umoja always brought. Yet even as the village quieted, the spirit of the festival lingered in the air, like an unspoken promise that the unity and peace they had cultivated would continue to thrive. The next morning, life in MTO Wambu resumed its usual rhythm. The villagers returned to their farms, shops, and daily routines, but the warmth from the festival lingered in their hearts. It was more than a celebration. It was a reaffirmation of their shared identity and commitment to peace. For Gwiza and Coffee, their roles as village elders continued to grow. They were not just symbols of love and unity. They had become the village's moral compass, guiding others with wisdom born from experience. Whenever tensions arose between different families or groups, it was Gwiza and Coffee who were called upon to mediate. Their presence alone was often enough to calm frayed nerves, as everyone knew the strength of the bond they had forged. As their grandchildren grew, they too absorbed the lessons of unity that had been so carefully cultivated by their grandparents. Kajura's eldest son, Musa, was already showing signs of becoming a leader like his mother. He spoke with eloquence beyond his years and had an innate ability to bring people together. Juma's daughter, Amani, was following in her father's footsteps, always curious about the world beyond their village and eager to learn about other cultures. One day, as the family gathered for a quiet evening, Kajura brought up an idea that had been brewing in her mind. "We've done so much with the Tamasha, and we've strengthened the bonds between villages," she said, her voice thoughtful. "But I think it's time to do more." Gwiza looked at her daughter with interest. "What do you have in mind?" "I want to create a school," Kajura said, her eyes bright with determination. "A place where children from different tribes and backgrounds can learn not just academics, but also the values of unity, respect, and cooperation that we've worked so hard to instill." Juma nodded in agreement. "It's a brilliant idea, Kajura. We can teach them from a young age that diversity is a strength, not something to fear." Bahati, ever the realist, chimed in, "It will take a lot of work, and we'll need support from the elders of neighboring villages. But if we can get them on board, it could change everything." Coffee, listening quietly, finally spoke. "It's the natural next step. We've already shown the adults what unity can accomplish. Now it's time to pass that lesson on to the next generation." And so, the seed of a new dream was planted. Over the following months, Kajura and her siblings began working tirelessly to turn their vision into reality. With the support of their parents and the entire village, they built the first Shulia Umoja, School of Unity. Children from MTO Wambu and surrounding villages came together to learn side by side, breaking down the barriers of tribe, language, and tradition that had once kept them apart. As the school thrived, so did the village. MTO Wambu became a beacon of hope and progress for the region, a place where people from all walks of life could come together, learn from one another, and grow. And through it all, Gwiza and Coffee watched with quiet pride, knowing that the love and unity they had nurtured in their own lives had blossomed into something far greater than they had ever imagined. Their legacy, built on the foundations of love, respect, and unity, would continue to inspire generations long after they were gone. As the Shulye Umoja, School of Unity, opened its doors, the entire village of MTO Wambu buzzed with excitement. It was more than just a school. It was the manifestation of a dream that had been growing for years. The children who entered those classrooms came from all over the region, representing many different tribes and cultures. But within the walls of the school, they were simply students, eager to learn and grow. Kajura, Juma, and their siblings took on leadership roles in the school's development. Kajura, with her natural leadership skills, became the headmistress, overseeing the curriculum that combined academic subjects with lessons in cultural understanding, respect, and peace-building. Juma used his connections with traders and travelers to bring in books, teachers, and resources from distant lands. Bahati and Zawina helped organize extracurricular activities that fostered teamwork and unity, from sports tournaments to traditional storytelling and music festivals. Gwiza and Coffee were often invited to the school as guest speakers, sharing their personal journey and the lessons they had learned about love, unity, and community. Their story was taught as part of the school's curriculum, not just as a tale of romance, but as a living example of how individuals could bridge cultural divides to create lasting harmony. As the years passed, Shulye Umoja flourished, attracting attention far beyond the borders of MTO Wambu. Leaders from neighboring villages began to send their children to the school, recognizing that the values being taught there were essential for the future. Soon, students from as far as Arusha and Dodoma arrived, eager to be part of this unique institution. The success of the school began to ripple out into the broader society. With each graduating class, young leaders emerged, armed not only with academic knowledge, but with a deep understanding of the importance of cooperation, respect, and empathy. They went back to their communities as teachers, diplomats, and entrepreneurs, spreading the values they had learned at Shulye Umoja. The Tamasha La Umoja, the annual festival, continued to grow in importance. Now, it wasn't just a celebration for MTO Wambu, but for the entire region. People from all over East Africa began to attend, eager to experience the unique blend of cultures and traditions. The festival became a place where differences were celebrated, where new ideas were shared, and where people could form connections that transcended tribe, nationality, or background. Gwiza and Coffee watched with pride as their children and grandchildren took on roles of leadership, carrying the torch of unity forward. Their love had not only transformed their own lives, but had become a catalyst for change across the region. As they grew older, Gwiza and Coffee retreated from the spotlight, spending more time together in the quiet corners of their home. They often sat on their veranda, overlooking the fields where the Tamasha had once been a small gathering of villagers and was now a grand festival attended by thousands. One evening, as the sun set over the village, casting a warm golden glow over the land, Coffee turned to Gwiza and took her hand. "Look at what we've built," he said softly, his voice filled with awe. "Who would have thought, all those years ago, when we were just two young people trying to understand each other, that it would lead to all of this?" Gwiza smiled, her eyes reflecting the light of the setting sun. "I always believed in us, Coffee, but even I couldn't have imagined just how far our love would reach." Their grandchildren often visited them, eager to hear the stories of how it all began. They loved listening to Gwiza and Coffee recount their journey, from the early days when they had first met, to the challenges they had faced, and the unity they had built together. For the younger generation, their grandparents' story was more than just a tale of love. It was a blueprint for how to live a life of purpose and connection. As the years passed, MTO Wambu became known far and wide as a model of peaceful coexistence. The village's name spread across East Africa, and people from other countries came to learn from their success. Leaders from Kenya, Uganda, and even as far as Ethiopia and Rwanda visited the village, eager to understand how they had managed to build such a strong, unified community. The Shule Umoja grew into a renowned institution of learning, and its alumni went on to hold positions of leadership not just in their villages, but across the continent. Some became political leaders, advocating for peace and cooperation in their countries, while others became entrepreneurs, starting businesses that bridged cultural divides. The values of unity, respect, and love that had been at the core of Gwiza and Kofi's relationship now influenced the lives of countless others. As time went on, Gwiza and Kofi's physical strength began to fade, but their love and wisdom only grew stronger. They remained the heart of the village, their home a place where people came for advice, comfort, or simply to be reminded of what truly mattered in life. One night, as the village slept peacefully under a canopy of stars, Gwiza and Kofi sat together on their veranda, holding hands. The air was still, and the only sound was the distant hum of the night insects. They didn't need to speak. After all these years, their connection was so deep that words were no longer necessary. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, casting its silver light over the land, Gwiza leaned her head on Kofi's shoulder. She closed her eyes, feeling the steady rhythm of his breathing, the warmth of his presence. And in that moment, surrounded by the peace they had helped create, she felt a profound sense of fulfillment. "We've lived a good life, Kofi," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the soft rustle of the wind. "We've done everything we set out to do." Kofi nodded, his heart swelling with love for the woman who had been his partner, his confidant, and his greatest source of strength. "Yes, Gwiza, we have." And as they sat there, watching the world they had helped shape, they knew that their legacy would live on in the hearts and minds of all those they had touched. Their love had not only transformed their own lives, it had become a beacon of hope for future generations, a reminder that with love, respect, and understanding, anything was possible. The next morning, when the village awoke, they found that Gwiza and Kofi had passed away peacefully in each other's arms. Their faces were serene, their hands still entwined, as if they had simply drifted off to sleep, together as they had always been. The village mourned deeply, but their grief was tempered by the knowledge that Gwiza and Kofi had lived full, meaningful lives. Their love story had become the foundation upon which the village was built, and their legacy would continue to guide the people of MTO Wambu for generations to come. On the day of their burial, the entire region came to pay their respects. People from all over East Africa gathered in MTO Wambu, not to say goodbye, but to celebrate the lives of two extraordinary individuals who had shown the world the power of love and unity. As the drums played softly in the background, and the villagers spoke words of remembrance, Kajura, Juma, Bahati, and Zawina stood together, their hearts heavy but proud. They knew that their parents' legacy would live on through them, through their children, and through all those who had been touched by their love. And so, the story of Gwiza and Kofi, the story of love that bridged cultures, of unity that overcame division, and of peace that transformed a village, continued to be told, passed down from generation to generation, an eternal reminder that love, when nurtured with patience and understanding, could change the world.